Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we are going to do a bit of an experiment. We have this AMES aluminum block petrol lighter that we replaced the wick in a while back. Fuel it up and it will light, but it's a little slow to light. Seems like it's got plenty of spark, so I think there's a good chance that what we are dealing with here is vapor lock due to the narrow ignition area, chimney, windscreen, whatever you want to call it. It has been lighting more reliably than this off camera, but that's about the way it usually goes. And we are attempting this experiment because it is not working as dependably as we would like it to anyway. So if it doesn't want to spark up right now, that is perfectly fine. This particular lighter has a hex key built into the fuel screw to manipulate and adjust the Flint spring screw, which as you can see is inset. There's our screw and spring. The red flint that we had in there. Just an inexpensive eBay flint that was in it. And we are going to replace that with this Dunhill blue flint that I pulled out of another lighter. So that was already grooved because of being in the other lighter. And tighten this down by hand. Can't groove it yet because it is not making contact with the wheel. There we have contact. Get that grooved in the right direction. Now we'll go ahead and tighten that on down. And that is tightened all the way down as far as that screw will go. And still not having any luck here with this igniting. So there's number 2. It lit once there as we were grooving it, and that's still far better than what it was doing with the other flint. Now that we have that tightened down, I suppose we should go ahead and get our fuel screw back into place. This is a very small lighter, so the fuel chamber in here is not very big. And I get the feeling that some of these aluminum block lighters, especially with the fairly small fuel chambers, are going to be perhaps a little more akin to, say, a permanent match, and maybe not even as sealed off as well as a permanent match. So maybe not even as reliable or as efficient with their fuel economy as some of those strikers that just hold a small amount of fuel. I had really hoped that the Dunhill blue flint would make a major improvement in this lighter, and it has not. Something that we have talked about in other videos. I do think that there's a possibility with some of these aluminum block lighters that you don't have the research and development that you have with other branded, marketed, promoted lighters. So what may have seemed like a good idea for a working lighter to someone when they designed it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to behave dependably, reliably, or even like you think it would. Just a small hole straight through here up to the wick. And then by the time that fuel volatility settles down to where you do not have vapor lock, then you may be on the waning end of your fuel level to where it's not quite fueled enough to carry fuel up to that wick. So since putting the Dunhill Blue Flint in this one, it's lit I think 3 times out of probably striking it 3 dozen or more. That is not a dependable, reliable lighter. But I run into lighters from time to time that are not dependable, are not reliable, and for whatever reason, you just have to give up on the idea or the notion of fueling them up and using them. I'm not giving up on this one just yet. I do hope that we can figure out the sweet spot between getting it fueled and it not being so volatile with vapor lock, and also getting a sufficient spark, which it sure seems like it's getting a good spark now. Good enough that it should be lighting. But as I said, it's the way it goes sometimes when you are taking an old lighter, drilling the old degraded flint out of it, out of the tube, and trying to put it back in working order. It doesn't happen often, but considering that it does happen with a Zippo from time to time, other flip-top lighters, Ronson lighters, tried and true, proven, dependable mechanisms, then it's not a big surprise to me that some of these others that, as I mentioned, did not have the research and development, maybe not an engineer's eye on its manufacture, whatever the quality control or actual engineering of the lighter was, it's pretty clear that not every lighter functions just as well as any other, and that not every lighter design is just as good as any other as well. Until next time.